Let's unpack that a little bit. Sony has had several conferences this year.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that was not their strongest one of the year.
I would agree.
Yeah, I'll totally agree with you there. I felt like it was kind of all over the pace, pacing-wise. It started incredibly strong.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
That is the
Started
problem
out really
right there.
well.
It was like a really, really good playlist on the worst kind of shuffle. Like, I think that it would have been great if they built it up a little bit more slowly and didn't immediately start with the two things
Uncharted, Final Fantasy VII.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is very much prison rules and kicking somebody's ass your first day, but like, maybe that would have been better saved for later on in the show? I don't know.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, everybody. I'm Damon Hatfield, Brian Altano, Max Scoville.
What's up?
Hey.
If you have your own thoughts on the conference, if you have your own questions, just tweet them at me at Dame0 on Twitter, and I will be. I'm being told to look at something.
No, just move on.
Move over.
We're getting real close together.
Tweet your questions at me on Twitter at Dame0, and we'll share them with everyone here. So let's just sort of like go through the conference here. As we said, it started out real strong with Uncharted 4.
Yep.
Big reveal, Uncharted 4 now has dialogue options.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting because one of the major problems that the Uncharted games have had is that they don't have a ton of replayability.
Yeah.
You can go back and play them on harder difficulty settings or get trophies or whatever, but this might lead to possibly different scenarios. I don't know if this is going to end up in a sort of David Cagean Heavy Rain territory where we all get different endings. But it's cool to see that that's there now. That's never been a thing in the series before. Although it's interesting because it's such a staple in so many video games. But since it's never been in Uncharted, it's huge news.
Well, it makes a ton of sense because we've looked at how games are right now, and obviously the big thing is open world. That doesn't seem like it would be really a good option for something that is as story-driven as Uncharted is. I think that we're going to see. We saw that amazing car chase sequence, the last demo. That wouldn't surprise me too much if that had sort of switches here and there, like almost QuickTime events that they're not showing us. Like maybe you pick the route you're going to go down.
Right.
But that seems like a pretty obviously in the dialogue choices. Also, this is an incredibly grounded cutscene. Like this is very somber by Uncharted standards.
Yeah.
I feel like.
I thought this was a very cool thing to show because we've already seen big action set pieces shown before. I thought being a little more understated, showing the scene between the two brothers, and then revealing that there are dialogue options. I thought that was a smart way to show Uncharted 4 today.
Very tasteful.
I think you guys are right in that. In the same way we saw that E3 demo with the driving down the cliffside area through that town, you had different choices there. They all kind of inevitably ended up in the same spot. But if there's a little bit more wiggle room than we've ever had narratively inside the Uncharted franchise, I think this could be really cool.
So when we open up here, Nathan Drake is at work apparently.
Yeah,
I like that.
He's married. He's a married man. And his brother shows up. He invites his brother over to dinner, but then his brother's like, "I'm in a lot of trouble, Nate." Is that what launches the game? Is this the opening of the game?
He's in like I think he's in like a construction worker, sort of like those makeshift trailer cabin things that they're in. That
Well, it looks like
offices.
he's working on a dockside place. So presumably he's doing some kind of chartered traveling work. You know.
Yeah.
Maybe he's a tour guide.
Uncharted.
Brian, you also had an A++ tweet showing Sully's dialogue.
Yes, yeah. He does scream Nate a lot in that game, so hopefully all of those options will be available to us come next year.
And then I was actually surprised at how much they showed of Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah,
and it looks really good.
Holy crap!
It looks crazy good.
Very real time now.
Yeah.
Which I think it looked so good that no one really stopped to get angry about that, which is pretty cool. I think people kind of want a more traditional turn-based, but I guess not. Like the game looks gorgeous. There's like we even saw stuff like Cloud shimmying through a wall, the same way we see like Lara Croft do that kind of stuff, which is cool. That means there's a lot of kind of action stuff. The music, it took me a second to get if it would work with the new visuals, and somehow like that sort of campy symphonic theme still nails it, even though everything is dark and gritty and falling apart.
Can we address how Barrett looks like Blade now?
Oh, he's totally Blade.
Like he just looks, very much like a larger Blade.
Man, even like the reflections on the back of his sword and stuff, like it's just gorgeous.
I think that obviously the switch to what seems like action RPG approach is probably going to scare off a lot of hardcore fans, or at least piss them off.
Yeah.
Obviously, the people who are hardcore fans of Final Fantasy VII are going to play this.
Yeah.
That's a given. I think that this is also trying to attract a new audience, and that's something that kind of needs to be acknowledged. You know, I mean, this is the kind of the same shift we saw with like, Fallout 2 to Fallout 3.
Yeah, and I think the thing is like, by now Final Fantasy fans, or at least like the really hardcore ones, are used to combat systems like this. They've been sort of readily available in the last few Final Fantasies, and I think like, even if you want something turn-based, you can kind of give it a pass because this looks so good.
Look at those numbers flying out.
Yeah, the sparks and lighting
so
effects and all that kind of stuff. People were losing it over this. It looked awesome.
Yeah, and like that's kind of maybe what was so disappointing about the conference, just because like at that moment they had us,
Yeah.
and then it dipped, and I kept waiting for them to grab us again,
Yep.
and they never really did.
Yep.
Yeah, what came after that? We had
After that was Battleborn. Sorry, Battleborn.
Battleborn.
A
No,
new-
before that we had Battlefront and Black Ops.
Well, yeah, but they didn't
Battlefront
announce anything
didn't say
new.
anything.
Yeah.
They mentioned Battlefront and Black Ops 3.
Black
but
Ops
they
3
didn't
some
announce
DLC
anything.
in the spring. Or
Yeah, but we already
something?
knew that.
Yeah, so why was that in the conference? I don't know.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
seems
that
just
was
sort of
that was
perfunctory.
a sort of a back-to-back non-news victory lap
Yeah.
for anybody who worked on those games. They showed off like awesome stuff from Battlefront that was just basically like cool kills that people have done. I mean, I played that game for 30 hours. I've seen all that. I wanted new hero stuff. I wanted new stuff tied to The Force Awakens. They announced that you can play Jakku on Tuesday. I started playing it last Tuesday.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. So I'm really bummed out. They had a Stormtrooper front and center on that banner, and we didn't get anything new. That sucks.
Yeah, that was a bummer.
We are hearing from our viewers. Rebel Soldier says, PlayStation experience almost put me to sleep. Uncharted A+++.
Yeah.
Everything else was a snooze.
Yeah, it's interesting how they paced this one.
Clearly, you're not a golfer.
Yeah, you clearly don't love robots or golf. It's interesting to me that I feel like the last conference they did also seemed to go a little long. I feel like an hour is a sweet spot for these things. And
Yeah.
what was this? 90 minutes, 2 hours? Like
It was like an hour 45.
yeah, that's a long show. And I know there was a lot to unpack there, and there was a lot to show us, but I think some of it could have gone a little quicker.
Yeah. Mark says, what's the point of having your own conference if you're not going to show any of your first-party studios except Naughty Dog?
Right.
And that's a good point.
It's been a running issue with Sony since the launch of the PS4, right? They have been sort of muted and subdued on what their first-party studios are offering, leaning heavily on third-party deals and acquirements and stuff like that, indie games, VR stuff. We saw a lot of little things here and there, but
Yeah, there were a lot of game announcements.
Yeah.
But like you said, they
Yeah.
were smaller
yeah,
games.
we don't have a ton of like just really big AAA first-party Sony games, and I don't know if we ever will. I mean, we've had rumors for years about what some of those teams are working on, but maybe they're just working on small VR games or indies and stuff like that.
I mean, at the end of the day, Sony has always been first and foremost a hardware manufacturer.
Yeah.
That's worth pointing out.
Yeah.
Nintendo's always made games.
Yep.
Microsoft's always made software. Kind of makes sense to sort of double down on what you're really good at if
Sure.
everyone's coming to you anyway.
Yeah. But no Last Guardian.
No.
No Horizon Zero Dawn.
Nope.
We did
Nothing.
get some look at some PlayStation VR stuff though.
Yeah,
that was
let's talk about VR. There was several games shown off today.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there were actually a few more that were revealed on the PlayStation blog kind of simultaneously. Some of those I actually wish were shown off on the
Yeah.
big screen. There's one that I saw. It's a game where you play as a foreign exchange student who is a scuba diver, and you are in a school of dolphins.
Yep.
And as everyone knows, dolphins are really smart, and so the way the game works is you have to look at their tests and copy their answers. I'm not
all
making
real?
this up.
Is
That's
that
not a
real?
joke.
All real.
Yeah,
That's the premise of the game.
Sounds really good.
So
As we learned again today, and we'll see pretty much forever, VR does not demo well.
No.
Yeah.
It is a show-stopping and not in the best way
Yeah.
use of that word. VR feels like 2015's Wonder Book, in that when you can put it in a conference, it is automatically going to stop everything from all the anticipation and momentum that the conference has going and just pull it back. That sort of Tron VR demo thing
Yeah,
you saw.
It's picking the most tropey, stereotypical look at what people. I mean, it looks
Yeah, here we go.
it looks like an imitation of a tech demo. Like
Yeah.
it's so kind of. You made a joke while we were in there that all of the PlayStation VR launch games were developed in the movie Grandma's Boy. Like
Yeah,
they
yeah.
seem very kind of generic for the most part.
It's kind of generic. This is a video game. It looks like something from a movie where somebody that knows nothing about video games tries to interpret a video game. Now, granted, it's probably cool once you put this helmet on and you get in there and you look
guarantee
around.
it's cool.
But
Yeah, but it doesn't display well.
this
you
is
know?
just a video of a guy standing on stage wearing a helmet, waving his arms in the air. And the thing about that is he's controlling the camera with his head, which probably makes perfect sense inside here for him personally. But for everyone else watching, it just looks like a very kind of herky-jerky camera moving around.
So no announcement of price.
Nope.
Or release date.
Nothing. So we still don't have anything tangible to look forward to. You can't just go in and put money down on this thing and start pre-ordering it. We don't know what this is going to be yet. VR is basically it's like the 6th grade school dance where there's a bunch of people waiting on one side and one of them has to make a move and get up and go talk to the girls.
Yeah.
And no one knows how to do that yet. No one's announced a price. No one's announced a release date. We're all just sort of waiting for somebody to make the first move.
Yeah.
And it wasn't Sony today.
Yeah, more and more games keep being announced for VR.
Yeah.
We don't know when we'll get to play them.
Now,
Yeah, it's really weird.
Here's an idea. How cool would it be? How sensible would it be if the PlayStation VR shipped with a bunch of games? Like they were like, hey, there's a suite
Yeah.
of things for you to play with
Sure.
to really So you don't have that further buyer's remorse if I went out and spent $60 on something to go with this thing I don't even know if I want.
I'm totally with you on that. Like PlayStation's done bundles in the past, but they don't really do a lot of launch game pack-ins. Even the PSP came with a UOD of like movie trailers to be like, you can watch movies on this thing, but it wasn't like this is what a game feels like. That's the best way to do it. You open up the box, there's experiences waiting for you there already. You don't have to go on a store and pick anything. It's already there. I think that's really smart.
Pretty exciting if there was like a PlayStation VR Wii Sports, basically.
Yeah, and I think it's a good way of sort of offsetting what we assume to be a very high price for something that can throw in a couple digital codes and sweeten the package a little bit.
Yep.
They did show Res Infinite coming to PlayStation VR.
Again, something that does not look good when you show it off on a big screen. I'm sure that's really cool when you put it on.
Good to know that's coming. People love that game.
Yeah, it's really cool to see something that was so aligned with the PlayStation brand for so long kind of make a return. We've seen games like this. Like there was a couple games for the Kinect that were sort of like attempting to recreate moments like this. But Rez is the king or queen
Child
of this
of Light.
kind of stuff. Child of Light. That was the one.
That was the one. Which is the same. Is that the same guy that did Rez?
Yeah.
If I remember right.
Yeah, it looks really cool. Looks like the Move controller is going to be the new Rez vibrator in some way. This suit was actually lighting up.
I missed that.
The suit was lighting up to the game. We don't know if it's going to be bundled. If you can get this, you kind of need this. Like this is going to be one of those things.
That's the requirement.
If one of your friends walks in and you are wearing the helmet and that suit and holding the Move controller, and they are still friends with you after that, hang on to those friends.
You know, throughout this conference, there were some things I did appreciate. From a kind of cultural angle, they had those black and white clips of the old man like yelling about kids getting off his lawn, which felt so much like early '90s or mid '90s Sony marketing,
or old Sega marketing.
Exactly, yeah. And then the Res VR stuff and the guy in the light suit. I'm like, this kind of looks like a press conference from 2000.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's good, but I like it.
Well, we've noticed in the last few years that Sony's really pinned down their nostalgic demographic, right? And I think for the longest time that was something Nintendo owned. Where like the 80s were Nintendo and they were about video games and they could pull out old sprites of Mario and stuff like that. But through the last few years, we've seen that anyone that grew up with a PlayStation is now nostalgic for those franchises and those characters. We saw them in PlayStation All-Stars. We saw that whole advertising campaign where all those guys were hanging out in a bar. PlayStation characters are here to stay, and it's cool to see them call back to an era where it all began.
You know, that guy came out in a Crash Bandicoot shirt.
That was
a cheap shot.
Yeah, where is that?
I don't know.
Where's Crash?
Who owns Crash Band? It's kind of a toss-up with Activision and Vivendi, I think.
You read the story about how they tried to put him in the new Tony Hawk game, but couldn't, right?
Yeah, because he's too top-heavy, falls off the board.
That's right. He can't skateboard. He can't put a Bandicoot on a skateboard.
Ubisoft had Eagle Flight.
Yeah. A bird game?
I'm so down.
You play as an eagle?
I'm so down.
Yeah.
Like, I was just playing Just Cause, and I'm like, that's a fun game because you can fly. You know what flies?
Eagles.
Birds.
Fly over Paris 50 years after humans have left the city.
Wow. Why did they leave? Paris is wonderful. should stay. It's really nice.
Look at those deer.
Includes a single-player mode as well as 2 multiplayer modes, up to 6 players.
Yeah, this is really beautiful. It remains to be seen sort of what the gameplay is aside from, like, it feels a little Superman 64 right now in terms of just like you're racing through specific checkpoints or areas, but if you can land and start eating worms or all the other things that eagle, I don't know what else. I feel like an eagle should eat something better than a worm.
Yeah,
he's our national bird.
You should probably be able to get snakes.
I mean,
At least.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got a nice giraffe in there. Good little Last of Us throwback. Yeah, I think that's one of those things. If you're controlling it with your head, it's probably way more exciting.
Yeah.
Like I mean, you watch somebody play Tetris, that doesn't look fun, but it is.
Once you're in there, yeah.
What do you guys think about Gollum or Golem? Not sure how it's pronounced.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
I'm not negative on it.
I can't really tell like what it is or what to expect.
Yeah, like that's the thing about these press conferences. We get a lot of announcements that are sort of muted, and you don't go, well, that sucks, or that's amazing, but sort of, well, that exists. I mean, I'm pretty cool with it. Like, you know, it looks like a video game, but I love golems. This is definitely more of the, it's one of those scenarios
So they're
where
showing her, she's controlling the golem.
And I kind of wish we didn't know all that. Like, it's sort of like when we first heard about Assassin's Creed and we found out about the twist of that you're actually in the present day in a tomb or whatever.
Yeah.
But this is like, I would rather just play as a golem. You know, I don't really need that sort of like.
Would you rather play as a 100-foot robot playing golf?
Hell yeah, I would. Those robots don't give a hell. They don't give a hell about that city, by the way, or a heck, or a poop. I can't
This looks
say.
awesome. Like a VR, like I mean, a golf game is whatever. 100-foot giant robot destruction golf game in VR, made by the guys
running
who
up
did
buildings that are falling over. Oh, and fighting other robots.
Well, this marks a good time for a console, right? Like I feel like the PS4 is just strong enough now and selling enough that you can take risks with weird stuff like this.
Yeah.
This is the kind of stuff that you used to see like back in the N64 era, where like a team would work on this for a year and it wouldn't sell well.
This is hella Blast Core.
Yeah.
Also very Evangelion too.
Yeah, it's really cool. It looks fun and goofy, and I mean, I don't care about golf, but I love robots.
But yeah,
and I love 100 feet.
I also love golf video games, like Mario Golf.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I loved Hot Shots Golf.
Golf is one of those things where I will never watch it, but golf games are really fun.
Yeah.
I'm totally with you on that.
Yep.
Sure. And Ace Combat 7 also announced for
some VR stuff for that too.
Is that going to be a VR only game? Because
I doubt it.
I doubt it. Yeah, I would say that's going to be. I mean, there aren't really a ton of VR exclusives right now. But I'm sure this is going to look awesome. You know, in first person flying around by yourself.
It makes sense. Flight simulator games.
I'm really curious to see what happens there once the PlayStation VR is out in the wild and we have third-party games that have like that VR component that hopefully isn't like required, you know, but kind of like how some games like Heavy Rain with PlayStation Move support, pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, it's just kind of tacked on there. Like Killzone had Move support, but like.
Sure, you mean like something it's like totally playable on its own, but adding VR adds this sort of extra layer of depth to it.
I like to pull it out or whatever. You know,
yeah, because I feel like if they start splitting the market and making things that are VR only, it's gonna get dirty pretty quick.
One of our viewers, David, asks, "What was your highlight of the show?"
Ni no Kuni 2.
Ni no Kuni.
Yeah,
Ni no Kuni 2.
That looks really gorgeous. The Uncharted 4 stuff looks really awesome. I was most surprised at like my highlight was kind of watching the excitement of the crowd, like especially when they announced that Final Fantasy VII was on PS4 today.
Yeah.
Especially because that's a room full of people who won't be able to play that today.
There's a ton of that. There's a lot of stuff that's coming out on Vita that's like now. Like
yeah, I think we're actually gonna have a list on IGN later today of all the things that you can play right now on your PS4.
Yeah.
Vita was mentioned quite a few times.
Yeah,
I think
a lot of games come to Vita.
At least 9 times.
Yeah. My highlight of the show was Duck Game coming to PS4.
Hell
Which was weird because
I've been wanting that all year long.
Duck Game is so much fun.
Right? So,
again, one of those games like Tetris. Looks real bad when you watch people play it, but you get in there.
So fun.
Yeah, and like spoilers for the way we do things here, but we all watched the conference in the other room, and there's a whole bunch of us crowded around the TV. And right before anything like that was even indicating that, Damon gets up and he's like, "I hope it's Duck Game." And a second later, it's like Duck Game. It's like,
yes, finally.
there it is.
Yeah.
Single player, multiplayer brawler game, but it's only been on PC, and it's not ideal to try to crowd my friends around my PC. So
it's
I
kind
want
of
to be on the couch playing the game on a console.
It's Smash Brothers with shotguns and ducks.
It's a little bit of Worms in there too. It's very stupid. Yeah. Man, I'm excited to go play some of these games. You know, I think it's really cool that Sony knows that like this could have been a lot shorter. You know, this could have been much more brief, but they didn't treat it like a trade show press conference. This was pretty much a lot of stuff for fans. Like they were like, hey, here's some stuff you probably want to see. And if you're not able to actually see it in person at this convention, good news because there's a bunch of stuff that's coming to the PlayStation Store. So people who are watching on their PlayStations at home, they get to take advantage of that. And that's a luxury you don't have at like, at PAX necessarily or at E3 or anything like that. So.
Yeah, these press conferences used to be really long, but they used to, like we said in the pre-show, like a third of them used to be sort of that victory lap of here's how many sales we made. Sony didn't really do a lot of that today, although they have plenty to brag about. They just decided not to.
Yeah, that's true. We did get some new Destiny news.
Yep.
After all, Destiny Sparrow Racing League was announced.
That's awesome.
You're gonna race on those speeder bikes.
That's really cool. I think
it looks great.
Yeah, I hope that comes to Battlefront next. That'd be really cool.
Yeah. That's, I think, available on Tuesday. It's free for anyone who owns the Taken King. Race on Mars and Venus, and they said for 3 weeks, so it sounds like it's only like a limited time
It's
event.
kind of bittersweet. I don't know why they do that. You know?
Well, there's like there's gear that you can get exclusively through it, so you're probably gonna want to get in there and win as many races as you can before this is gone forever. But with these things, I feel like it'll be popular enough that it'll come back permanently eventually.
Yeah.
But it looks really gorgeous, man. Like my thing with this game is that I know I would lose 150 hours to it, and that's exactly why I'm not playing it. It's one of those rare things where I'm like, this is totally my style, and if I touch this, I'm going to get divorced. But I can't, so I have to walk away. I have to just stay with the ring in my hand.
One of our viewers, Victor, points out, still no PSN name change.
Yeah, not yet at least. I mean, the day is young, the weekend is young.
Yeah.
Shuhei Yoshida wasn't even there on stage in any capacity, so maybe he has some announcements for later on. Yeah, I've been bummed about that. I've been playing a lot of Battlefront and getting to sort of interact with the more colorful names that the PlayStation community has to offer.
Yeah.
We got to change some of those names. Some of them are real bad.
I mean, it's worth pointing out there still are a ton of panels coming out of this for the next couple days. There's the good old guys that Kind of Funny are going to be doing big panels. So I'm sure there's more announcements to come.
Yep.
So Max, you say you're excited for Ni no Kuni 2.
Yeah.
We can pull up that trailer here.
Yeah, Ni no Kuni.
You were a fan of the first game?
So the first game, sadly, I never finished it. It was one of those ones where like it's a massive, long ass JRPG. It's level 5. The guys who do Professor Layton and the more recent Dragon Quest stuff, and working with Studio Ghibli, who do the best cartoons ever made. And it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful game. There's no Ghibli branding on this at all, but I think that it's got the same look. It's got the same composer. I think some of the same character designers. But the idea is it's pretty much super magical Pokemon. Like you're a little wizard who gets familiars, and they're like these funny little animals you feed cakes to. So it definitely has like a little bit of Pokemon going on for it. Really just incredibly charming world. Like it's. There's some action and adventure there, but like none of it is gritty. It's all just very pleasant to be in.
Yeah.
So
the art direction is gorgeous. I think like seeing this trailer in comparison to some of the other stuff we saw today, it's just kind of amazing to think about where we are artistically in 2015. Just the sort of wide variety of things that we saw from Uncharted to Robot Golf to Ni no Kuni, which looks completely animated. These are all coming to the same platform. It's insane. That's where we are in 2015.
Yep.
Well, Sony closed out the show with Paragon from Epic Games. Not the strongest way to close the show, I don't think. I'm actually not super familiar with this game, but we can pull up the footage. This is another hero shooter, like Battleborn and Overwatch. Is that right?
Yeah.
They're all sort of in the same family of games.
Yeah, this conference kind of ended like this season of The Walking Dead, where it just stopped. Like there was a lot going on, and there was a lot of unanswered questions, and then it just stopped. But yeah, this is like really beautiful looking. I don't know if I'm going to play it particularly, but I love the sort of mix between this kind of futuristic Tron cyborg world and all this mossy, overturned dystopia stuff. Like it's really, really pretty.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried about the rise of the hero shooter.
Yeah.
Like we've got Battleborn, we've got Overwatch, we've got this, we've got For Honor from Ubisoft, and like the thing is they are fundamentally multiplayer games.
Yeah.
And they're not the kind of multiplayer game where you can kind of screw around because they're simple. Like they're very, they rely a lot on the balance of who's playing as what characters and classes and all that. And you need an audience and you need a user base to really make that work. So
yeah, no, you're totally right.
If one of these falls short, then it's kind of like, who are you going to play with?
Yeah, I think people are going to land on one and just kind of stick with it in the same way they did with MMOs a few years back. There was that huge that dawn of the MMO that led to this era where everything was an MMO, and now very few games are MMOs. So I think hero shooters are kind of the next big wave of stuff like that. And like everything, there's going to be winners and there's going to be losers.
Yeah. We have a few minutes left in our post-show coverage from Sony's PlayStation Experience keynote. If you have any final thoughts, questions, tweet them at me at DameZero. Yaz asks, was anything missing from the show you guys thought was going to be announced? I think there's several things. I really thought they would give us more info on the new God of War.
Yeah, still nothing on that.
Last year, David Jaffe revealed Drawn to Death.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there was nothing about that this year.
Wasn't it playable at some recent? Was it Gamescom or
thought so.
something?
Yeah,
It
so
was
they've
one of those-
been play testing that pretty hardcore recently. So it made us think that this is something that was going to happen soon. We were actually sort of thinking behind the scenes this might be a stealth launch for the end of the year. Like we might be able to play this as soon as tomorrow or whatever. But completely absent and no God of War. So nothing on quiet on both of those fronts.
Yeah.
Very surprising.
What do you think we're supposed to take away from the keynote presentation today?
Well, to me, it sounds like they're still not ready to blow the doors off of VR, but they are excited about what's going to be playable with it. PS4 is obviously a no-brainer to buy at this point. A year or two ago, I would have told you, wait and see. Right now, it's not only amazing with tons of exclusive games and great third-party stuff, but it's also pretty much future-proofed for the next few years. It seems like if you're going to get something for Christmas, get a PS4. There's going to be a lot of stuff to play on it for a while. And Vita, not totally dead yet.
Yeah,
still
lots of
got a
games
few
on
little
Vita.
punches left in it.
It's kind of bittersweet. I think the Vita, it started off as this AAA handheld thing, and it wound up being this little portable indie machine.
Yeah.
And it's cool that we're still getting games, even if they've come out for a bunch of other systems, that they're showing up on Vita too. I have a Vita. I like that. That makes me happy. If you get a PSN gift card for Christmas, this is cool because it's kind of like that Toys R Us catalog you used to get as a kid. You're like, oh, here's little things that I want to spend my Christmas money on, So
Also, no mention of No Man's Sky. I don't believe.
Yeah.
I'm really okay with
Which
that.
is, I realize we've
So
seen
fine,
a lot of that game.
Put it back in the oven and let it finish cooking.
I'm just used to them let's bring out No Man's Sky.
Yeah, it feels like you're totally right. It's like it's actually at this point it's tradition to just roll out another No Man's Sky trailer. I think the thing now is we know release date and we know pretty much what we're going to be doing in it. We saw a very extensive demo last time around, so now we wait.
Yeah.
We wait, fingers crossed.
Ladies and gentlemen, oh, sorry, go ahead.
We go down the street to check out more.
Yeah.
Because it's just right around the corner from us.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Our post-show coverage is about to end, but we will be bringing you much more coverage from PlayStation Experience all weekend long because it's right down the street, just like Max says.
And if you're in town, say hi. We're friendly.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for joining us today. It's been a really strong year for Sony.
Yeah.
Had several conferences throughout the year, lots of really strong announcements and moments. So I'd say 2015, really strong year for Sony.
Great year for video games, period.
Yes, in general, yeah.
Yep.
And everything else.
Thanks for joining us today. Stay tuned for just for everything.
Everything else.
Stay tuned for lots more from PlayStation Experience here at IGN all weekend long.